Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk. Now in the last two videos I made about clearing acne with diet, I showed you what I've been eating. And what's interesting is that those two versions were actually quite different. Different foods, different environment. But what really stood out when I looked at it is that they had one thing in common. They were all based on very simple, basic foods. And that's something I've been thinking about quite a bit recently. Because if the approach that actually works is this simple, then why is it so rarely talked about? I mean, when you actually look this up online, it's usually something else. It's more about special diets, different products, powders, or some kind of system built around it. And if I really think about it, it's kind of funny that the foods being pushed the most are usually the more processed or industry-driven ones, while simple basic foods or traditionally made versions don't really get talked about at all. And I think one of the reasons for that is simply that simplicity isn't very profitable. I mean, there's not really any money in telling people to just eat simple whole foods, like eggs, fresh fish, meat, rice, potatoes, maybe some fruit on the side, which is essentially the diet that cleared my acne. The thing is, you can't really brand that. You can't package it, so you can't really trademark something like steamed fish or cherry tomatoes. But you can trademark something like a keto protein brownie or a skin glow superfood powder. And it's not even just those obvious things. I think what's actually more confusing is that a lot of foods that actually look simple or healthy are not really the same thing in practice. Like, for example, smoked or packaged fish compared to fresh fish. Or things like seeds and nuts when they're eaten regularly as a staple. They are often treated like they're the same thing, but they are not. Because it looks simple, it looks natural, but it's not really the same as just eating fresh basic foods. And I think it's basically the same thing you see with skincare products. They're designed to be marketed and sold, not because they work better. So naturally, that's what gets pushed more. Not because it works better, but because it's easier to build something around it. And then there's also the issue that a lot of foods today are just very easy to overeat. They're usually combinations of sugar, fat and salt, or just coated with it. And they're made to taste really good. So compared to that, something like a grilled, boiled or steamed fish or meat with some potatoes on the side can feel a bit boring at first. Especially if you're used to more processed foods. But the thing is, that's exactly what works. And that's really the paradox. What actually works is simple, but what gets promoted is not. It's usually built around complexity. Because if you really look at it, a lot of foods that are marketed as healthy are still quite processed, or at least very different from their original form. So just looking at numbers or labels doesn't really tell you the full story. And I think the last part is just human nature. People are naturally drawn to the idea that there's some kind of hidden trick or a new discovery, something that will fix everything quickly. But in reality, what worked for me was just keeping things simple and being consistent. I've been tracking everything for over 2 years now, every single day. And it's not really one specific food that made a difference, it's more the overall pattern. So I guess if there's one takeaway from all of this, it's that what actually works is simple. Just basic foods, not overly processed. Paying attention to what works for you and not overdoing it. And I know that's not very exciting, but it's what worked best for me. But yeah, I just wanted to share that perspective. If you have any thoughts on this, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!